Welcome to another episode of Sovereign Property Moves. Today we have Ben Gearing, the National Director of Project Marketing from Colliers.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thanks.
So talking about Colliers, apart from being one of the largest marketing companies in the country, they do a lot of research on property market.
That's right.
Especially different states. Now, compared to other states, what do you think about Australian, especially the Melbourne property market for next 5 years?
Yeah, good question. You're right. We do. Look, Colliers are in the Victorian space. We're probably the largest project marketing business by a long way now, but we do have some of the best minds in terms of analysis and research in the business. So we do see a lot of what's going on around the country, but what we see for Victoria and Melbourne in particular, and particularly the inner core suburbs, CBD, South Bank, obviously St Kilda Road and South Yarra, areas like that, we've seen a real undersupply into the market over the last 4 or 5 years, for a variety of reasons: planning, availability of sites, and what's happening now is obviously construction costs have really escalated.
And then a lot of migrants are settling down in Melbourne.
That hasn't stopped, right?
Yes.
We all know that it's in the news every day about the crisis in housing, and a lot of that I think is overblown in terms of where it's about population growth. But we are seeing record population growth, and that's because Melbourne has so much to offer.
Yes.
The education is still a huge thing for us. People are coming here in record numbers, and where do they go? They go to New South Wales, or they come here. The majority of people who move to Victoria want to be in Melbourne, and a lot of those want to be in and around the CBD of Melbourne, where we are in a real undersupply situation. As you know, we only just launched a project in the CBD for the first tower in the CBD to launch in 5 years. Now, we're a city of over 5 million people, and to have one tower come to the market in 5 years is extraordinary. And we're seeing solid sales in interest in that project, and we really are in a position where we need more projects to satisfy the interest of investors and owner-occupiers alike.
So, especially in Melbourne, there's a huge crisis in terms of the available units, and
That's right.
because of the migration and people even interstate, they move into Melbourne. And given that, especially in Melbourne CBD, there are no more approvals, or very limited number of approvals happening in next few years.
That's it.
Do you see that demand is still going for next few years?
Yeah, I do. So the demand into the Melbourne market is very high. And what we're starting to see a lot of, actually, and I read an article about this morning, sort of came across my desk, the price of apartments in Melbourne, or the median price, is actually lower than the other capital cities.
I think all of the
capital cities. Yeah. Correct. Now that's an anomaly, right? We're normally, in our rightful place should be the second place behind Sydney.
And I read this article. They were talking about Melbourne population growth, and then by 2030, Melbourne will be the largest city. They will overtake Sydney.
That's right.
And then if you look at the prices here, it's like Sydney prices versus Melbourne. Sydney is almost double.
That's right.
So
huge differential in price.
Huge difference. And
for the same product.
Yeah, same
That's
product.
Right.
And then if you look at next 5 years, you think that Melbourne market will go into that level?
Look, I think it'll closely model where Sydney's got in price. It's certainly going to outstrip Brisbane, one would think, very soon. One of the things that's obviously the challenges in Brisbane in the market there is the construction prices are so high. Just per square metre to build is so much higher than Victoria at the moment for other factors. But the demand for apartments in Melbourne is only going to grow, and the supply just we can't produce them quick enough for, as I said, variety of reasons, planning and just the availability of developable sites. Obviously, one of the things that the government here is trying to do to encourage investment and encourage development of new projects is this recent introduction of the stamp duty concession for off-the-plan purchases, which is really good to see. I think we really need it. It's a real shot in the arm for the market.
And I think they are promoting Melbourne CBD and inner suburbs because the stamp duty saving is basically on single part contracts, as in it's not house and land, either it's a apartment or townhouse.
That's it.
So most of the apartments and townhouses are located within the inner suburbs. So I think the demand is also in that area, in those areas, especially looking at the rental market and all. It's extremely hard to find even a rental property.
It's very tight, isn't it?
Yeah,
there's hardly any vacancy at all.
Correct. Yeah. So apart from the stamp duty savings, what are the other incentives the government is offering? Sort of, they are doing any sort of common mass scale building approvals or any construction sites?
The government's announced some activity centre initiatives in terms of wanting to see a bit more development around transport stations, around train stations and what have you, in the inner suburbs. I think that the scope for that is yet to be seen, whether that's actually going to be borne out and actually produce any real volume in terms of addition to the supply. But I think that when we want to see it is in the city. As you know, we recently had the mayoral elections. Yeah. And one of the candidates, may have been the Lord Mayor who actually won it, I'm not sure, but one of the quotes essentially was, you want to build more density in the places where the infrastructure is already.
Absolutely.
So the CBD is where we have the infrastructure, we have the transport, we have the employment. Yeah. So we want to see more density in the city. Yeah,
and also looking at the infrastructure, they are doing a lot of projects, especially in the western side. They are doing the tunnel and also the extensions to Westgate Bridge. So I think they are preparing for the population growth of next 5 years.
That's right.
Yeah. So when you're, that's pretty exciting for investors to especially invest in inner city apartments and townhouses. So when you're selecting a project, let's say an apartment, what is your advice? Whether it's good to buy something as soon as it released, or do you think it's better to sort of wait until the project is sold for a certain amount of apartments, or what is the best time for someone to buy a property?
Look, that's a good question. I guess that what people are after is confidence and certainty. Yeah. There have been obviously a number of, it's a challenging time to develop, and not everyone has the ability, whether it's the funds or the know-how, to deliver quality projects in a market like this. So what we do as a business, we try to take a lot of that. We do our own due diligence on these vendors, on the developers.
Sure.
We generally work with only developers who we are absolutely certain can deliver.
Has the track record?
Whether it's locally or overseas. We obviously work with a lot of international developers. Yeah. But look at the project I just mentioned, Atlas by SP Setia from Malaysia. Yeah. They have delivered a number of major projects into Melbourne already. Sapphire by the Gardens, Uno, Fulton Lane, Park on St Kilda Road. And two of those, Sapphire and Uno, were both delivered through COVID, which was, probably the most difficult time to construct.
And they have done the Fulton Lane also.
Fulton Lane as well. Yeah. So they've got a real track record behind them. Yeah. People trust the brand, and similarly, we launched the third tower on Collins Wharf earlier this year for Lend-Lease. Yeah. Lend-Lease's name gives people confidence. So in a project like that, I think obviously the earlier you purchase, the better selection of unit you're going to be able to obtain, whether it's view line or floor plan. So whatever suits your needs. If you wait longer, you run the risk that what is actually perfect for you won't be there. But I do understand that where people some people would like to wait and see that a project construction's already commenced.
Yeah.
But so it's just sort of weighing up that and balancing out what's more important for you, the certainty of having construction commenced already, or do you just bank on the fact that we're dealing here with a real experienced developer, someone who's serious about developing it on the site and trusting in them and their brand.
And then in Australia, it's your risk is minimum because you pay initially 10% deposit that
Correct.
sits on a lawyer's trust account.
Yeah.
So the developer cannot touch that to do their construction or whatever it is. They should have their own funds.
That's right, and that's what makes
To deliver
Victoria and
yes.
Australia, but in Victoria in particular, a very transparent and safe market for people to invest in. I mean, we are really competing with other markets all over the world: Canada, the UK, the Middle East. But a lot of people tell me that when I deal with a lot of international agents who are dealing with their clients, that their clients see Australia as a really safe, secure place
yes.
to invest their money.
Yeah, of course, because the developer should have their own funds to deliver the project, and the initial deposit you're paying is just a commitment.
Correct.
And if something goes wrong, it's in a lawyer's trust account.
It's in a lawyer's trust account. So that can't be touched.
That
by
can't
law,
be touched.
which
yes.
is great for investors overseas.
Yeah, and then that really gives confidence to for the investors to buy something off the plan, and buying something off the plan gives so many other benefits as well, right? So say for example, this Atlas project,
Yep.
the delivery time is in 5 years' time, but you're blocking today's price.
That's right.
And
And we're
then-
seeing construction costs escalate at a real rate. So to
Yes.
lock in a price now with an astute developer where you're not going to see those prices remain available for long
Yeah,
is an opportunity.
Not only construction cost, the inflation, the land price, and then the population growth, and then scarcity of availability of units. So that factors in. Like in 5 years' time, you will never be able to find a apartment for that cost, that
No.
amount.
That's right.
And then when you look at the rental yields also, you are factoring in today's rental yields, and then in 5 years' time, every year it goes up. So in your opinion, it's better to buy something off the plan, or what do you think about established properties versus off the plan?
Look, good question. I guess with established properties, you've got to be ready and have all your funds ready now. You've got to be ready to either get finance now, and it has been challenging in certain times, and for certain people, it's challenges to get finance. You can get finance, but it's
If I'm correct, you can't get the benefit of the stamp duty savings as well.
that's right.
Yeah.
So you don't get the benefit of the stamp duty concession.
Yeah.
So it's about what you need. Obviously some people need a project now.
Yeah.
But if you can wait and you have the ability to then just put down 10% now, then you enjoy that full stamp duty saving that's available now.
Right. Okay. So I know Colliers, before they take over any project, they do a lot of research about the developer, the quality, and the market. So apart from those factors, when you're taking over a project, what sort of due diligence you do?
Well, like I said, we obviously want to know what the developer's done before.
Yeah.
Whether we've just been involved in a transaction on a large site in Melbourne with a new entrant to the Melbourne market. Now they're a very experienced developer in Malaysia and elsewhere in the world. So we don't need to see that they've done a project in Melbourne. We just obviously understand that they've done projects overseas. That we want to see where they are, what they've delivered, and it's about who they assemble a team around. It's not just about the developer. Have they gone to the best architects? Have they gone to the best town planning advisors? Have they are they what are they talking about in terms of a budget to market it, but also to get it built? Have they got all their ducks in a row? That we look at everything.
And then the prices stack up with the valuations.
Yep.
Especially if the prices are very high, then obviously the settlements will not going to happen, right? With the bank valuations.
That's right. And if they're too high, then we won't see them sell either. We want to make sure that the people purchasing our projects through us are going into something that's got value for them as an investor or an owner occupier. It's an opportunity. You know, we understand investing in property is important to everyone. They want to. Obviously, the developer wants to make their money, and there has to be something in it for them. But there has to be something in it for the purchaser.
Right. So, in your opinion, Ben, what are the best 3 projects you can offer right now to the investors?
Look, I think at the moment the opportunities are obviously in Atlas, which I mentioned, Poisetia. Park Quarter is a really great project where it's probably more along the lines of how you mentioned before. Is, you know, we've obviously sold quite a lot of it,
and in a really good location, and close to all the schools.
That's it. Yeah. Brilliant location, St Kilda Road. Still some opportunity there because whilst early works on the site have started, I believe it's still at 0% construction. So for the stamp duty savings, there is a small window where you can still get stamp duty savings. You know, that's a different spot. Obviously, there's still some good apartments available in Collins Wharf with Lend Lease. And then 671 Chapel Street, which
that's a new project you
brand
launched.
New project we just launched. So that's a really good project there.
Especially the suburb, South Yarra, close to all the schools.
It's beautiful
suburb.
Blue chip suburb. So we know that people will do very well there.
Right.
Aria for Evolve Development, so a very experienced developer again, but in that area as well in South Bank. Some beautiful product there. Looking back at the city, again, full stamp duty savings available. So those are the ones there that I would say, if you want to chase that stamp duty concession, which is a real, I would say, an astute thing to do, at the moment, those are the ones I would pick.
Yeah. Okay. So any new projects you're looking at in next couple of years, if it is not too confidential, you can just mention about the locations and all?
Look, we've got a project for an experienced developer, Piccolo, which will launch next year in Kew.
Wow.
A very sort of high-end project there, but in, you know, blue chip area. And then we've got one coming for Cbus Property again next year in St Kilda Road. They've just completed a project actually in South Yarra, which is a beautiful project called Como Terraces. So for the other buyer, rather than the stamp duty savings there, it's these are like house-size apartments.
Cbus is the superannuation fund combined with that?
Cbus Property is a part of the Cbus group, which is the superannuation fund. So they're again very strong developer, great track record. You know, they've delivered some of the best projects in the city: 35 Spring Street, 17 Spring Street, classic East Melbourne. So they really know how to deliver a quality owner-occupier product, which Como Terraces that they've just recently completed is again one of those.
Excellent. So thank you very much, Ben. You have wealth of knowledge in this area. So thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and the insights with our audience. Colliers we have been working with Colliers for a long time, many years, and then we don't have any hesitation promoting Colliers projects simply because, as we mentioned before, you do all the due diligence, you get the best developers, best architects. So in the next few podcasts, we'll go through your new projects. Anyway, thank you very much for joining today.
No,
thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks, Theekshana.